Perspectives. My name is Gail, and my guest today is somebody who has not been on in quite a while, but he has been on Fresh Perspectives a couple of times before. And today we are going to be talking about his health journey. His name is Mike Leach. Thank you for agreeing to appear today, Mike.
You're welcome.
And well, we're going to be talking about your health journey, and you want to talk about a disclaimer first.
Yeah. I need to explain how it is that I came to embark on this health journey and my status as a layman. I am not a medical professional. Motivated by what's causing this and what can I do to help this situation, this health issue that I have. So not an MD, not a DO, an RN, or anything like that, a registered dietitian.
You're just going to tell us how you helped yourself.
I backed into this, and this is how I
Yes.
got going. Yeah.
Yes.
So
You're going to talk about your medical history. Now, before you
Yeah.
got into this, you had some health problems that that you had surgeries and things for.
well, I had a lot, yes, and so really and one of the things, this is a medical history, and I've just had a lot of injuries, accidents, and then a succession of medical stuff that happened. And in '81, and really the thing that sparked my interest in health was I got a condition, an autoimmune condition, 1981, called lichen planus.
And what is that?
That's an autoimmune condition. It's billed as a cousin to lupus.
Oh, okay,
And
similar to lupus.
Yeah, it's a skin condition,
Uh-huh.
much less serious than lupus. But anyway, it made me wonder, what is it that's causing this? And that, plus my intellectual curiosity, embarked me on an investigation. And that resulted in kind of a standoff, not a cure, but a standoff in the 80s, 1980 to 89, that went on. So anyway, that's one element that came in 1981 in my health journey, and it's kind of a critical element. I would say that starting kind of at the beginning, okay, I was kind of plagued as a kid with undiagnosable conditions, and that probably is characteristic of somebody who has autoimmune issues, a disrupted immune system. But going through these things, just so you get the picture of some of the stuff that's gone on, and particularly the sequence that comes up between 1995 and 2000, and 81 was the autoimmune issue. But I had tonsils and adenoids removed when I was in grade school in the 50s. Okay, and then I had an unfortunate thing happen with my knees. In 1962, I had one knee operation. I had another one in 1968. 1981, I had yet another one, and these were as a result of injuries, torn meniscus, and things of that nature. But some of these are disabling, like the 81. I never ran again after that, and so that was a part that kind of set the stage. You know, I had autoimmune issues, things I couldn't explain, and then I had these things come up. My body overreacts to injuries, for example, and stuff like that. In '64, there occurs something which is a plague to me yet to this day, and that is I was on a toboggan. We were going down a hill. I had 3 people in back of me, and we hit a culvert.
Oh.
And the toboggan stopped, and I was in the front seat with my legs like this, and the legs went like this, and the small back went like that. The back was small of the back, lower back, which pulled the ligaments, and it did a number on the knees again, and the hips, and all of that. So I kind of suffered from that. And then I had a whiplash. I was rear-ended by a car in 1980 about 1975 it was, in Buffalo, and whiplash and upper back. So I have a whole sequence of things, the knees, the hips, the back, the spine, that have plagued me. But they did not contribute to the first thing. Yeah, the autoimmune issue.
Mm-hmm.
We take that up in 81. That manifests in 81. The next thing, and the thing that really produced this journey, other than the intellectual curiosity on what's doing this to me, is it a chemical or some food I'm eating? And this led to a great, stuff would go out of the house and down to the shed, and I would eat this and not eat that, and really I reached an accommodation. I had to eat a certain way, or I would get this inflammatory response all over my body, my skin, and so I became a weird eater from that point on.
Okay, so at that point in time, you were able to figure out that if you ate certain foods, you would be sick.
You got it.
Yeah.
I came to that conclusion, and there is now, and I was reading books. This was alternative stuff at that time. Now it's mainstream. Cleveland Clinic, functional medicine department, Mark Hyman running it. It's transition, but it took quite a lot of years, and so they're saying, yeah, food does this to you. That's probably the biggest culprit. So, but the thing that sparked, really took the health down was I was 55 to 60, and I was working in the post office in Jamestown, and during my lunch I would go and work out, and up at the Y.
Okay.
And so I got it in my mind that I wanted to become a bodybuilder, and I ate what I characterize as the muscle and fitness diet, which was high animal protein, and you name it, and overconsumption and building muscles, and so in about 5 years, in a perfectly predictable sequence, I developed prostate issues in 1997, 8, and then in 2000, 1999 it was, towards the very end, thyroid issues, okay, and then heart issues in 2002, no, eye issues in 2002, heart issues in 2004. So over a period of 5 years, 1, 2, 3, 4, and my health went down.
Yeah, well, the funny thing about it now is, and I have actually met some of them, a lot of bodybuilders and other extremely sports, people who participate in these things, are going over to a totally plant-based diet.
Right. And I tell you, if you want to perform an interesting experiment, well, you just get online and you Google bodybuilders, and then you look at the life that these people live, in terms of years, okay? They check out 36, 38, 46. They don't live a long time.
If they're eating the meat,
If
the
they're
high
correct
animal diet.
And particularly, of course, a lot of them did use steroids. And those were bad.
That's not good either.
No. But, so anyway, I did perform that experiment one time. I went online, and so yeah, I have to say, the diet did it to me. And I did it to myself, literally, thinking I was doing myself all kinds of good. So then I have the autoimmune disease conjoined with the heart disease. Maybe they're related, I don't know. But anyway, that's kind of, and then I got into Dean Ornish in 2004, and I began to address the heart disease, radical change in diet, and that produced results. I never did stent surgery. I never did those things. And at the end of 3 years, I had a PCP who was a great PCP, a great doctor. And at the end of 3 years, he said to me, they did tests, every year, every 6 months sometimes, but every year they would test me as to what was going on. And he said at the end of 3 years, 9 months, I think, he said, subject to the limitations of the technology, you do not have heart disease anymore. So the disease, because of this diet, reversed. And as able they were to look at this and evaluate it, it was no longer there. I had an 80% left anterior occlusion. They call it the widowmaker. And the way that works is this. These things tend to close up at the rate of 50% a year. So if you have a 1% occlusion, a lesion, it goes to 2%, no problem, right? Mm-hmm. And it keeps going, mm-hmm. and then when it gets up around 70 or 80, let's say it's at 80, in 1 year it closes to 90. So it's beginning to block off. So that's why they intervene in 75 or 80. That's why they put stents in and stuff. Mm-hmm. But I chose not to go that route. I did this dietarily, and intermittently I've taken statins and blood pressure meds, but for much of the time, no. Over the last 20 years it's been now.
Now, you had a thyroid issue. How did you find out that you had a thyroid issue? Did you find a lump on your neck?
Yes. And so yeah, this was, no, I didn't have a lump on my neck, but, I can't remember what impelled me to go to the doctor. Mm-hmm. It was probably a blood test.
Oh, okay.
And the thyroid, I got a bad read or something like that. So I went to a doctor, and they did a scan, and I had like nodes on my thyroid, and I had low function. And I had a history of exposure to radiation.
Oh, I see.
In Washington, D.C., the Hanford Project.
You were working there, was it?
No, I was a baby, and they put it out into
you were a baby.
They put it out in the vegetation, and then the cows ate it, and I ate it. I got it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, not good. But so he put all this together, and he said, "I think you have thyroid cancer." So he took out half my thyroid, no cancer. So. Anyway, that's what I say.
And they can't put it back.
You can't put it back.
No.
No, now they give you
unfortunately.
levothyroxine. That's how they put it back.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah, that's the thing of it. They thought I had thyroid cancer at one time after I had just, in the mirror one night, after brushing my teeth, I looked in the mirror and I remember swallowing and saw this lump go up and down. And it was on the left side of my thyroid gland, and well, I did not let them take it out.
Well, good for
I
you.
went to an herbalist instead, and it maybe wasn't cancer, or maybe it was. I don't know, but it's not there anymore. And that was 20 years ago, and I'm still alive.
Yeah.
So, but it was kind of that was an interesting journey.
Oh, yeah.
The process of doing what I did for that.
Well,
and I still have my thyroid gland 20 years later, the whole thing.
Yeah.
So.
And I did the same thing with the heart. Mm-hmm. But I had Ornish to stand on. Mm-hmm. But I walked from all of the treatments that I could have opted into. And I'm still here, too.
And you're still here, and
Yeah.
that was how many years ago?
19.
19 years ago, and you're still here.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah, so we share that thing. The eyes, that was glaucoma.
Oh, you had glaucoma.
And all of these things are probably the thing that unites them. And the heart in 04 is occlusion in the vascular system. These small capillaries go down and affects the nerves that feed the eyes, the nerve vessels, or the vascular system, the vessels, capillaries that feed the eyes, the nerve.
Yeah, well,
they're all related.
Yeah, going to an eye doctor for a checkup, when they give you the eye drops and everything so they can take a really good look on the inside of your eyes, they can tell just by looking at a person's eyes if they're diabetic, if they have high blood pressure, all kinds of things like that they can tell you about your health. Mm-hmm. So they might actually, if they notice any of those things in your eyes, they may strongly suggest you go see your doctor about it.
Right, and I will tell you a quick story on this, because the first thing was the prostate, 97, 8 in this sequence.
It wasn't cancer, was it?
No,
No.
no, it was just you need whatever they give you, a medicine, because it impairs your ability to you know, you get up 3 times at night, stuff like that begins
Right,
to happen.
right.
What's causing this? So they help you along with a med. But I asked my doctor just recently, a urologist, it wasn't the doctor at the time, and I said, is prostate health related to heart health? And he says, oh my, yes. Why do you think we call it the canary in the mine? It's the same disease process, and
In a different part of the body.
most likely in the
Yeah.
eyes as well. Okay, so that's, if you have prostate, you know, you've got something going on that maybe is going to turn into heart disease. That's the takeaway from this.
Well, I know that diabetes and heart disease are connected to each other, too.
Absolutely. Metabolic syndrome and all of those things.
Yeah,
are-
quite often
big
a
cauldron.
person who's diabetic will also have a heart problem.
Right. Take it seriously if you have these warnings, these harbingers. Yeah. So I learned this. Anyway, so what we get into is this sequence. Once I got to the heart disease, then I began to really get serious about making a lifestyle change. I walked away from the muscle and fitness diet, and I went to Dean Ornish. Subsequently ran into Caldwell Esselstyn, that I'm going to mention, and I converted over to Caldwell Esselstyn, got interested in CR, calorie restriction, and it turned into a lifetime journey, which a piece of it now is the whole food plant-based diet, which we'll talk about. But one thing I want to do is go ahead. I'll let you.
Oh, okay. Well, my next question is, you have a website, I guess it is, called therealtruthabout.health.org. Would you like to tell us about that?
Well, yeah. So what I want to say is this: I have a whole lot of sources, and coincidentally, all of these people, they come from a common perspective, and there is a movement which is among doctors. It was really spawned by the grandfather, would be Colin Campbell, who wrote the China Study. And in the China Study, he studied different regions, geographical regions in China, and was able to relate dietary and lifestyle patterns to disease patterns, diseases that occurred. And so this was in the early 2000s. I can't tell you when he published.
Yeah, I can't remember. I have a copy of the book at home, but I can't remember. Can't tell you offhand exactly when it was published.
Could have done it in the 90s, but I ran into it then. That's a seminal book, because then I began to connect the dots in my health journey. He, incidentally, he's 89 and he's still alive, Cornell University professor, biochemist / nutritionist, nominated for the Nobel Prize in medicine for this work that he did. And this is he's the grandfather, like I would say, and it informed a lot of people. And I caught on to these people who were in this. It's a natural approach to health rather than an allopathic medicine, pharmaceutical medicine approach.
Right.
Food as medicine is the general
that
concept.
was what Hippocrates said thousands of years ago.
Yeah.
Your food should be your medicine, and your medicine should be your food.
Absolutely. I think, yeah. So but he was a great inspiration. Then next, and I did mention Caldwell Esselstyn. He was a cardiologist at the Cleveland Clinic, ran, after he retired, the prevention department, published, 8 books, Six, I don't know. All of these guys, they got credentials, they're well published, and they're public, and I read their books.
Esselstyn did a study where he took volunteers with heart and diabetic problems and put them onto the whole foods plant-based diet, and he was able to prove that
That's right.
that would work.
He has beyond a doubt published the clinical evidence that this approach to heart disease works. No doubt about it. Okay, so 06 and 8, he published a follow-up study. So that was what, I hung my hat on the guy, and he was the right one to do. So anyway, he is another key piece, heart disease. Okay. And then I ran into, I can't tell you the time I ran into her, Brooke Goldner. Brooke Goldner is 43. She has a book out there, how to what is it called?
It was something about lupus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How to beat lupus.
Yeah.
Eat whatever, I can forget the title of it, but it's on lupus. She's a Temple-trained MD, licensed in Texas and California. She's got an online presence, probably hundreds of videos. You got an autoimmune disease, free stuff. Okay, that's the point there. Autoimmunity here, I have learned a ton from Brooke Goldner. Brenda Davis is a nutritionist.
I've heard that name. I don't know much about her, but
Brenda.
I've heard the name. Yeah.
She kind of framed how I eat, which is a large salad, eat the colors of the rainbow, and let it smile at you. You smile at it, and it smiles at you. I forget how I put it. But she was a very excellent nutritionist. And she herself has published 10 books. Okay.
Impressive.
Yeah, go ahead.
Impressive.
All these people.
Yes.
I mean, I tell you stories about these people. How about the one that did 27 and he's still alive and working?
Yeah.
But then we talk about Joel Furman.
Oh, right.
Joel Furman is clinical physician. He's still MD, online presence, running a clinic, a wealth of knowledge and unbelievable books.
Yeah, I'm one of his fans, yeah.
Another great source. Then John McDougall, The Starch Solution, okay. Cultures in general, people who are healthy. He found in his clinical practice, people who ate a starch-based diet walk away from their diseases and live. Okay, John McDougall, The Starch Solution, he was...
Okay. You might want to explain what you mean by a starch solution, because the viewing audience might be thinking that you mean white bread and stuff.
Oh, no.
That. So
no, it would be basically what it would be potatoes, corn, rice, maybe I think you would gravitate toward the non-gluten grains.
Right.
With, like millet, quinoa, amaranth, squash, what else we could say, vegetables that tend to have carbs in them, like I mentioned potatoes, but maybe beets.
Beans?
Beans, yes. Well, yes, beans are 60 to 80% carb generally, maybe even 90, depending on the bean, I don't know. But they have a lot of carbs, a preponderance of carbs. They have a lot of protein in them, too.
Right. They're probably one of just about the best source of plant-based protein.
Right,
yeah.
Exactly. So he was a key piece, too. Paul McLaughlin and Meredith Averill, they have published a book, The CR Way, and they're into longevity. Well, you have to be healthy to live a long time. Calorie restriction is what they focus on. They have this book, and they have a network. Some of the leading universities they work with, and the NIA, National Institute of Aging, they were glued into a gentleman there. But anyway, they impacted my understanding of eating, intermittent fasting, daily intermittent fasting, but fasting and various concepts like that. Starch, once again, it's a high starch diet, mimics or models the Mediterranean diet. I got a lot from the CR Way people. The less you eat, the longer you live. That kind of info. So
And especially the sugar is especially bad.
yeah, and so now we talk another source would be the True North people.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Alan Goldhammer and Michael Clapper. They are doing research which is showing that the stuff that they talk about in the Bible, fasting and etc., takes care of this one. That actually it works that way. They're curing people by water-only fasting. That influenced me. I built that into my lifestyle. Anna Marie, these are the ones, Anna Marie and Brian Clements. These are the people who, actually they've aggregated these people that I've just spoken about and many, many, many more who are now under this umbrella, this generalized movement that's beginning to form in the medical profession, and they put on free videos. And the series now, it's going on right now as we speak here, 17-day free videos, all manner of experts, credentialed and published, top of the universities in the country, and they come on and they present free. And they're disseminating this kind of information. So this is the network that I built my approach on, and it's a network that should be digested, and it's a great source of information for people. And because it gives you stuff that you can do for yourself via changing your lifestyle and your eating, etc., to help yourself.
Right.
That's the beauty of it.
You were also talking about something that was it on this, The Real Truth About Health.org, about the comparison between the United States with their health outcomes compared to other countries?
No, it wasn't, but that's a good thing to mention, okay? And so the WHO, the WHO, that we got familiar with.
The World Health Organization.
Yeah, World Health
Okay.
Organization. We got familiar with them with the COVID because they were involved in this process. But anyway, they look at what's going on health-wise and medical-wise in countries throughout the world. And the stat that sticks in your mind is there's like 17 developed countries, okay, and then it goes up to less developed, developing countries. They don't have our technology, and they're in the process of So here's the stats. The United States spends, compared with the developed countries, 17 of them, we're number 17 in terms of our health outcomes. We got the worst. Okay, we spend twice as much as the other ones do on average. We spend $12,000 per capita. They spend more like 5, 6, someplace in that area. I mean, it goes up. These are facts I ran into a while back. So, and it comes down to then lifestyle and diet and approach to medicine. Pardon me?
Exercise.
Exercise.
Yeah.
All of these things factor in, and social network, and there's many factors in this health equation. We are not getting good results for the money we've spent, but the one that really sticks in your craw is this. Worldwide, we ranked recently, the last I read, and I read it at 38, but the last one was number 44 in the world in terms of health outcomes. Now, this is not a good result, okay? And part of the reason is that the focus that you get out of this group of people that I just went through, and the approach that I have is change your lifestyle, do what you can do for yourself, and this is not being disseminated and put into the public. and so the standard American diet is producing negative consequences, and the info is not getting out, and that's part of my purpose, is share the sources of information and my experience.
And when some people find out, they hear that these changes would help them, they don't want to do it, so they don't. You know what I mean?
Well, there's two parts to this.
Yeah,
Number
yeah.
one, you can point the finger and say, well, the authorities are not doing their part, but then you can also, the doctors, for their part, number one problem they have, number one complaint is lack of patient compliance. People, it's a culture. And so if by chance you're doing the right stuff, well, maybe you're going to live a long time, but if you got to change, wow, you know, or if you don't have a problem and you're not going to get one 20 years later and it's going to kill you, you know, it's a problem. You know, it's human nature.
Right.
That's
right.
the issue.
Right. Yeah, a lot of us are our own worst enemies, I
Amen.
have to say that. Yeah, and were you wanting to say something about the previous videos? I wrote that
I will.
down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Only by way of this, because you have to realize that I made those things. Well, one of the things I mentioned is my PCP in '07 said, subject to the limitations of technology, you don't have heart disease. Well, I said, oh, I don't have heart disease anymore. The problem was twofold. One, the technology was very primitive compared with what it is in 2023. So I might have had heart disease by 2023 technology, and I drew the conclusion, oh, I don't have heart disease anymore. But the real problem is this, and Esselstyn will tell you this, and Goldner will tell you this. When you do this, you are walking away from the cause, okay? But if you put the cause back in, you're going to get it again, both autoimmunity and heart disease.
Right.
And so it kind of has to be a permanent thing. Well, in my infinite wisdom, just like I gave myself heart disease by the muscle and fitness diet,
Right.
I went back, fell off the wagon, so to speak. And when I did that, I got a revisit of the coronary artery disease in 2019. And then I had to do this 3-year thing, low-dose statin, blood pressure, strict Esselstyn, and then the symptoms went away, the blood pressure went down, and ostensibly, but I learned a lesson. Stick to the protocol.
Right, right. Yeah, I've heard that. You hear that a lot about people who have cancer. If they go the natural alternative route for cancer therapy with a special whole foods plant-based diet, and their cancer goes away. And you know, a lot of people think, well, I'm cured now, I can go back to my old eating habits. But if they do, the symptoms come back again. That's
part of my story. The bad part is that I bought both again. I had a revisit of the autoimmunity, which is largely dissipated in 2022. So yeah, that's what I want to say. The things help, but you got the genetic predisposition, the disease, reintroduce the causes which you've taken out to produce the healing effect, and you're going to get the disease again.
Right.
So see those two videos with my now experience, and look at them and say, okay, this is forever. I have to eat Esselstyn forever. And same with Goldner, okay? And Goldner will tell you very explicitly, walk away from it, lupus will come back. That's why I eat the way I eat. So yeah. So that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to just correct any.
You wanted to correct any wrong information you might have presented on the previous 2 episodes that you were on. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you know, You know, it's funny though, a lot of people, I heard somebody telling her relatives one time about an experience that she'd had where she felt a lot better after she stopped eating dairy products. And right away, well, you know, her relatives are going, yeah, but that probably wouldn't work for everybody, would it? And I'm thinking, I don't know. I had the same experience myself, you know, as this girl did, and I'm thinking it actually might work for everybody.
Well, I tell you what, I came to a conclusion about whole food plant-based eating, and I think it's dietary truth for human beings. I do. That's based on my worldview and my religious perspective. I've gone beyond the body and eating to other dimensions, and I do think that yes, that's the God-intended way that we eat.
Right.
And
right.
Yeah, that's my
well,
belief.
you know, it's, you know, like when people are young, I think they kind of think that, you know, they can do whatever they want to right now because I'm young. But I know, I have heard of cases, I have actually met people who wound up having heart attacks in their late 20s and early 30s.
That's true. Yeah. Coronary artery disease is a 30-year disease. It starts from about the time you're 25 or 30, and it develops over time. And at 60, 50% of all Americans have clinical evidence of heart disease, and most of them don't know it at 60. It's ubiquitous. And then at 85, almost all Americans, it's like 85%
will have a heart attack
will
or
have,
a stroke.
Or it's heart disease, it's downstream effects. It's the liver, it's the pancreas, it's the stomach, it's the intestines, it's the lungs, it's the mind. They're all of these things, it comes from that. It's the biochemical, whatever it is, the malfunction, the eating malfunction that manifests as the heart. It's kind of the same, as my understanding that I've gotten, it's kind of the same disease process, different names and parts of the body.
But it's basically the same causes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well spoke. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, you were going to talk about the whole foods plant-based diet, and you brought bowls.
Oh yeah.
So
the easy.
so I figured you were going to do
A demonstration.
a demonstration. He didn't actually bring any food with him, but he brought bowls so he could show you what size bowl he needs to make something. Do you actually eat
I do.
that much food at one sitting?
No.
As this big bowl?
This is my food for the day.
Oh, your food for the
Yeah,
day.
this
Okay.
is my whole. This is my salad,
Okay.
and that is my.
And you spread it out through all of your meals in the day?
Right.
How many meals do you eat?
Two.
Two. Okay.
Two meals. I eat 6 o'clock in the morning.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and then I eat between 12 and 2, sometime like that. And that's my dinner, breakfast and dinner, 2 meals, and then I fast, depending on which time I eat my dinner. I fast 16 to 18 hours every day, 7 days a week.
From your afternoon meal until breakfast.
Right.
Well, that's what the word breakfast means, right?
Right.
Breaking the fast.
Right.
That's what it's always meant.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
what does your okay, you've got some food combinations here that you wanted to talk about?
Before we do, let me explain the let me explain the basics on this, and then we'll talk, because that's a very.
Because we've got just 21 minutes left.
Oh, okay, we'll get through this. Yeah.
Okay.
This is 21 minutes. Okay. I'll be brief.
Okay.
This makes life simple. Okay. I have 2 bowls like this and this. And I filled this with every manner of fruit and vegetables, a third to half. Multicolored. The colors of the rainbow is what you want to see in there. All kinds of antioxidants and stuff like that. Looking up at you. Fruits, less fruits, 3, 4. Every vegetable that you can possibly buy, okay, in the bottom. All right. And then the rest of it, the other half, is a dark green leafies of all kinds. You name the dark green leafy, and you can eat it. I eat it. Okay. Mix it up. Half of it for breakfast, and the other part of breakfast is a bean dish, and it's roughly one can of beans. Okay, I cook them myself, but. But
do you cook yours from scratch?
I do now, yeah.
But you're referring to a can, so the viewing audience, it can be simpler for them.
Right.
Right.
Correct. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
It's a whole can. That's a lot. Full. Nutritional yeast I put on it, and you were getting to some of the things I doctor with. Sauerkraut every day. Natto. It's a medicinal food you were kind of getting onto. It's a fermented soy product. Soy.
Okay.
Vitamin K2 regulates calcium balance in the body, keeps it out of the vessels, puts it into the bones. Natto, spices, green spices, oregano, basil, sage, garlic, onions. I have a taste for those. Horseradish, I love it. Every day. This is, big bowl of beans. And then in the afternoon, the other half of this, and potatoes, squash, non-gluten grains, I went through them before, amaranth, quinoa, you name it. Every manner of potatoes. I particularly like sweet potatoes and the purple ones. That's the high starch diet, and what that does for you is this. This is a Paul McLaughlin inspiration because he fasts every day too. What it does for you is it syncs with the circadian cycle. It gives you, lets you go for a long time because the carbs are in there and they're burning, and it's high nutrition. It's probably 600-800 calories in this.
Wow.
Yeah. So you're not hungry at 6 o'clock. You don't want to eat. Food doesn't matter anymore. You just go on this stuff. So that's the general, the big eating pattern. Now what we do is, where you were going is into the medicinal foods, and I have some specific sources. Information. These people have done a phenomenal job of aggregating out of the scientific literature the medicinal effect of food on the body. If you have a condition, you can put certain foods into your diet which are known to turn off the cancer, the metastasis process, and stuff like that are known to reduce cholesterol, for example. And you can add these into your diet and direct what you're doing to your specific heart or health condition, okay? So that's the general logic, and I get these. Let me tell you these two sources, because this is another data dump, and these people have done a phenomenal job. One is Dr. Michael Greger. He has thousands of studies.
Oh yeah, he's amazing. He's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, and
he has a great sense of humor too.
He does.
Some of his stories just make me laugh.
He's unbelievable what he's done. So he's a primary source for this, how to eat with reference to your particular condition, help yourself by doing so. And the other is a guy named Sayer, Sayergi, and Sayer has aggregated 60,000 studies, clinical studies or I don't know the level of authority that these studies are, but 60,000 showing the relationship between food and diseases. And he's related these things so that you can put in heart disease and you will get a spit out of all of this different stuff and what these studies showed on what it does to heart disease. And this ties in, both of these tie into how I approach my heart disease and my autoimmune disease. I concoct from these medicinal foods and spices things that are beneficial given my conditions. So Sayer G, and his site is greenmedinfo.com.
Greenmedinfo.com.
Yeah.
.com. Okay.
And Gregor's is nutritionalfacts.org.
Yeah.
Those two guys.
I've got 2 of Michael Greger's books. Both of them were gifts that were given to me. Mm-hmm. The one was How Not to Die.
Yes.
That didn't mean not dying ever. It just meant, how to make sure you lived a good, long, healthy life.
Right.
It was basically, the chapters were how not to die from these various different kinds of health problems.
Correct.
And the second one somebody gave me was How Not to Diet. And he starts out the book by mentioning the dangers of getting your stomach stapled or taking the drugs and taking the medications that are supposed to calm down your appetite, I guess. But both of those things, according to him, are very dangerous. But then he goes into different aspects.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's both of those guys are. It's a combination of all of this other universe, and I mentioned 8 or 10 or 9, whatever it was, but there's a ton of people who are climbing onto this train, and the real truth about health. They host these. They host this. It's a free video conference, 17 days right now going on for free, and it will glue you into this network. And it's good, reliable information, because people are saying now, well, the internet, I don't know what to believe and what not to believe. Well, let's believe a guy that was nominated for the Nobel Prize, and let's believe a guy who's published 27 books. What's he got to say? So it's that kind of thing. Information, I call it a data dumper in information. And these two guys are critical in what the question you just asked, how to select foods to help. And I do that myself. So, yeah. So what else? You got another question?
Okay. Well, we've got 12 and a half minutes left.
Okay.
We can just keep on talking.
Sure. I do have a couple other things on
okay.
diet. Yeah. The other thing I do is fluid consumption.
Yes. Several minutes back, I was thinking of mentioning it, and I have read that plants are the best water filtering system.
Yeah.
But you have to eat a lot of those plants.
That's a lot.
In order to get your daily amount of water. So, but what were you going to say about it?
I not only eat a lot, but I target 2 quarts of water only at this point.
A day.
And that will vary because I also drink, green tea is loaded with antioxidants and good for you, and I really like this stuff. I drink sencha and matcha. Those, if you get into William Li, I didn't mention William Li, but he's medicinal foods, okay? And he's written some books too. He's a University of California, I think, professor. He has an online presence in this group, this network of loosely associated people, okay? I forgot where I was going. I was telling you about the water and the fluids. So I do that. I try to target 80 to 96 ounces of fluid a day. Some of it, and it mixes up. I do cocoa, I do green tea, cocoa every day. It's loaded medicinal and loaded with antioxidants, and water for just cleansing and purifying the system.
Yeah. One thing I have noticed about the high water content foods is you wind up going to the toilet a lot more often,
Yeah.
like with watermelon and cucumbers and like that.
Yeah.
Maybe, do you think it's possible to eat too much of that stuff?
There's an individual balance in this. And
It depends on the individual person.
See, I mentioned the prostate problem, so I'm up twice a night. If I start getting up 3-4 times, then I say, okay, I'm drinking too much water. And maybe I have consumed tea and or something cut down. No, you don't want to flood your system, but you want that balance. You have to individually look for that and find it. That's my belief.
Yeah. I mean, it's fun to eat those things. I mean, cucumbers are among my favorite foods, and I love watermelon too. And you know, the really fresh, juicy tomatoes you get if you have your own garden are very, very high water content.
Sweet.
I mean, you can drink your tomatoes, you know. I mean, it's like every big juicy tomato you eat or every big cucumber you eat is like drinking a whole glass of water.
Right. And watermelon is the one that...
Oh, yeah.
And it does a number on the blood pressure, too.
It drops it right down.
Oh, it works.
Yeah. I remember telling this other lady one time, and I don't know how the subject came up. I had just run into her in the grocery store one time, and I somehow we got to talking about watermelon, and I was mentioning that it's so good for you, and she goes, oh, it is? I just thought it was something that people ate because it tasted good. She'd never heard it before that watermelon was good for her.
Yeah. Well, they demonized celery. Listen, there's. I want to summarize my medical.
Okay.
So the whole food plant-based diet, it has 4 components now that I've been directing towards. The body. Look, we have in the human being we have we have the spirit, we have the mind, we have the heart, and we have the body. The whole food plant-based diet comes back through this Jewish rabbinic line back into the Essene community and ultimately the Garden of Eden, whole food plant-based. That is an article of faith with me. Mankind is designed to eat that way. That solves the body problem. But we also have the spirit problem. And this whole thing is a worldview now with me, and this is one component. Health is at least 4 dimensions: spirit, mind, heart, and body. Has at least 4, and they have to work together. And then there's a communal aspect to this too. So when it comes to the spirit, I'm a Christian, and I come from the Christian model, who is Jesus, relational model, that produces good effects in me and the community, okay, as well. So that's one element, and the heart and the mind, they work together in the body. Similar neurological network. They communicate. Heart runs the body, and the mind, we interface with reality. These things work together to produce good health, and I get biblical wisdom as the direction for these 2 components. And the last one is the one we're talking about. That's the one that the medical profession focuses on, but all of these things work together in a unity, in my view.
They do.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you know, there's this feeling like if you're only, you know, like maybe for a couple months or so, that you're eating like only raw plant foods, there is this calmness that will come over you, and you feel more connected with spirit.
Well, there's I don't know whether it's I don't know who it is, but there are people who are looking at the energy that comes out of, and that energy is is transferred into us. If you eat sprouts, for example, the energy release is huge, and it's measurable, that comes off of raw foods, okay? And they're alive and you're alive and you're feeding yourself energy.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know all the details of that. That's a dimension I have yet to come to.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I mean, and your body, I mean, you'll have this sensation of cleanness, like just taking a shower can't do.
Yeah.
And it's just incredible the way it makes you feel when you do that.
Yeah. So I have some takeaway thoughts.
Okay.
You want to hear those? Okay. First thing I would say is this. Anyone who is inclined to embark on this journey, get dietary software. You can get it for free on the internet. Get some, because that will tell you what you're not getting in, what you need for health. It's right there, and it will tell you easily. You can find out, where do I get my vitamin A from? Maybe I should eat a carrot because I'm at 20% and I want to be at 100%. Dietary software is the biggest factor in solving this dietary problem, in my opinion, this body problem. Okay, I used that extensively. I tracked my diet for over a year, and it opened my eyes to what's good for me, what's bad, all of that kind of thing, and where do I get it from? Solves the problem. The other thing is this. There's some key thoughts. The concept is this: do risk reduction. Okay, the problem was caused usually by something you do. Usually you're eating, or something else you're doing, and so do risk reduction. And when you look at the studies, use the objective evidence, the studies. See one that reduces the risk of heart disease by 60% and say, I'm going to put that into my diet. I'm going to put that into my lifestyle. I'm going to exercise. Take that 60% and now find another one and take a 20% and take a 30% and a 40% and a 10%, and it's the cumulative effect of all of these reductions in risk that eliminate the cause. And when the cause goes away, the healing comes in. That's the logic in Sayer G. Greger. Put them together, and I call this thing, I've dubbed it, it's probably the only thing that I've dubbed, the only thing that I would claim credit for in this talk is compounding the synergies, because it's a synergistic effect that you get from these risks, from the sequential reduction in risk, by which you're removing cause, that produces better health. Compound the synergies, and this is stuff you can do for yourself. Sayer G. Greger, the sources are there. The Real Truth About Health people, they're free online video, and many of these people have other sites that they do. You can target your own health issues and do what you can do for yourself, and leave the balance to God, leave the result to God, leave the healing to God. That's the key to this. And then believe this, and this is a Brooke Goldner: no matter what happens, I will be okay.
Positive thinking.
It's a positive outlook.
Yeah, a positive outlook, yeah.
That's a critical variable in this whole process. Because if you get cancer, I'm dead. You know?
No, you can't think like that.
No, you don't.
You have to you have to know that you're going to be okay.
To maintain that motivation in the face of hopelessness, trust God. That's all. You know. So this is it's the mental outlook, I think, is very important. So that's other questions.
Well, I'm thinking that you wanted to repeat your disclaimer.
Okay.
We've got a minute left. If you wanted to repeat your disclaimer.
Yeah, I will repeat that. I am not a medical professional. I am a layman who was cursed with autoimmunity and heart disease with an intellectual curiosity, and I worked my way through this whole process. From 1981 on, I got interested, and it's just gone and gone and gone, and it pointed in the direction, at the end of the day, of a whole food plant-based diet as being a key piece of the puzzle for optimal health. But that's an intellectual thing, and the sources that I've listed here are beyond question in my view. They're well credentialed and well published, and they're public, and they have books, yin yang, books.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah. There's
I would say, you know, don't believe me. You can take my experience, stick with the protocol. go
try
over-
it and see.
Try
Try
it
it
and
and
see.
prove it to yourself.
That's right.
That's about all you can do. Okay. Well, thank you so much for appearing on Fresh Perspectives today. And I'll see those of you in the viewing audience on the next episode.
We got through.